Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm clearly audible. Before I start my session, I want somebody to please confirm on a chat if you can hear me, if I'm audible, if I'm visible. Can you see me? Can you hear me, people? Okay, great, great. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Mukesh Vermani, and I am the assistant professor in the Department of Lovely Professional University. I'm sure most of my students have joined the session along with the other participants from different colleges and universities. So, I, Mukesh Vermani, warm welcome to each one of you to my 15-minute session on how to crack virtual and telephonic interview. So, students, before I start talking about the do's and don'ts of telephonic interview, before I start talking about how to crack it, it's very important for each one of us to understand, to know what is interview and why it is important and under which all instances do we appear in an interview. So I'm just quickly going to give you an idea about interview. First thing is there are many students, those who have this myth that interview is something that we only give when we go for maybe a job or for internship. My dear friends, there are many reasons where we go and give an interview. So the first is, as every student has an answer that yes, we give interview when we go for a job placements maybe. We give interview even when, for example, if you want to go for higher studies, maybe you want to you have cleared cat mat zat gate, and then you are going to pursue further for higher studies. Maybe you'll be taking admission in masters. That is where nowadays all the universities and reputed colleges, they take your interview. Interview is one of the most important criteria nowadays wherever you go. So students, we give interview when we go for job placements. We give interview when we go for internships. We give interview even when we go for higher studies. Apart from that, I'll take a very silly example. I still remember the day when I went to the school of my daughter, wherein I wanted my daughter to get admitted. Nowadays, if you want your child to be studying in a reputed school, even the parents have been interviewed. Even your kids will be interviewed, guys. Forget about only the job placements. Apart from that, maybe for embassy purpose also, we appear in an interview when you are planning to fly abroad for higher studies, maybe you're going for work visa or going anywhere. That is the time when you give interview. Even in your classes, when your new semester begins, when your new session starts, many of you appear in an interview. Not interview, rather introduction, a casual introduction. Your teacher asks you, okay, fine, please introduce yourself, and that is where you tell something about yourself. Of course, that is not formal, maybe a casual interview, but then yes, you are being interviewed. So interview is something which has not only been given for a job placements, it has been given in many instances. Okay, so now before we talk about the do's and don'ts of telephonic and virtual interview, let me first tell you the first step, the basic step before we go for an interview, what we have to do. There's something we call it as pre-interview preparation. My dear students, I want to tell you this is very, very important thing that we need to understand. Don't ever go for an interview based on just one myth that I've seen many people have, that they are very good in English. I've seen many students falling flat in an interview just because of they assume as if they are very good in communication skills, they can crack any and every interview. Trust me, guys, English is just a language. It is just like any other language like Hindi, Punjabi, Telugu, Malayalam, Bengali, any language. It is just a language. What is more important is your knowledge. What is more important? Your confidence, your etiquette, that you're going to present in front of the employer. So let's start with the pre-interview preparation. Before we go for even a telephonic interview, it is very important for me as a student that I need to prepare myself for an interview. The first thing that I want each one of you to prepare before you go for any and every type of interview is there is something we call it as KYC. And KYC, many of the students, when I ask this question, what KYC is, people say, sir, KYC is know your customer. Of course, if you go in banking sectors, if you go in companies, this is where we call it as KYC. But then, yes, in colleges, in universities, we call it know your company. It's very important for me to know about the company where am I going to give my telephonic interview. That's very, very important. So, students, what do I need to know about the company? What are the different parameters? What are the different areas where I need to research about the company, and how am I going to do? So let me give you the answer. The first thing is I would request each candidate, whosoever is going for an interview, please make sure you visit a website of the company. मैं दोबारा बोल रहा हूं दोस्तों, सबसे पहले जब भी आप इंटरव्यू के लिए जा रहे हो, आपको सबसे पहले कंपनी की वेबसाइट ओपन करनी है, so that you get to know what this company is all about. आपको कंपनी के बारे में थॉरली पढ़ना है. और दोस्तों, कहां से पता लगेगा आपको कि कंपनी क्या है, वो क्या करती है? There is a section called about us. Read about us, wherein you get to know what this company is all about, what do they do, what products do they make, where is their existence, and everything you're going to get to know when you read about us. The second thing you really need to know is the hierarchy, the higher management people. Who's the CEO of the company? Who's the CEO of the company? Maybe who's the managing director of the company? Which are the people that are involved in the organization? And most importantly, students, when that organization was established, which year, which place, which country, which state, which city the organization was established. That's very important for us to know. Not only this, my dear students, we need to know if this organization that I'm going to join, is it only in India, is it only in pan India, or it is global. So that actually gives me the confidence and surety that yes, wherever I'm going to join the company, that company does not only have one office, they have a presence pan India. Maybe I may get an opportunity to work across the globe. So, my dear students, the first thing that you need to remember is you'll open the website of the company. You will read thoroughly about us section. You will read about the senior level people in the management. You will read about where is the head office, where is the regional office, and how many offices do they have. Apart from that, do not forget to read about the products that they make. If you are a student of BTech CSC, are they into IT? Are they into consulting? If I'm a student of biotechnology or mechanical engineering, maybe is the companies into production, is the companies into manufacturing, or into designing. So what do they do? Now, each company, there are multiple companies, and each company gives different types, variety of services. So we really need to know the products of the company. What are the different products that they make? And then most importantly, their competitors. Do not forget to know about which are the competitors of that company. That's very, very important, students. I need to know. For example, if I'm going to join TCS, I need to know which are the competitors of TCS. Is that only a Cognizant? Is that Infosys? Is that any other company? Capgemini? So I really need to know the company that I'm going to join, which are the competitors. Then I'll be getting to know about the company's turnover. What's its turnover? That's very important for us to know. I need to know what is the current share price of the company. Is this company listed into Fortune 500? Another very important thing to know. Apart from that, we will have to make sure we should be thoroughly be reading about the role, the job role. That's very, very important, people. I've seen many students. I'll take a real life example. Since I have been teaching and training thousands of people, I have trained many people wherein I see when I go in a real life drives, I see some students. They do come, they actually come well dressed, but if you ask them about a job role, they don't even read about it. They didn't even read. And when I asked them a question, they were completely blank until or unless company officials describe. Make sure that we are knowing thoroughly about what is the job role. What am I going to do? It's very important for me, guys. If you are not sure about what is my job role, what am I going to do you think, students, you're going to do justice in the company? Of course not. So it's very important for us to read the job profile, the job description. Now, I'll give an example. Whenever any college, any university you people are studying in, your placement cell is going to send you an email. Even if you're not going to take placement from a college or a university, maybe if it is a consultant, you will get a thorough email about the company, even if you're getting placed from some consultant. Even a company is arranging your interview, they will tell you about what is the role and responsibility that they are looking for, what skills are required, what are their expectations. So make sure that we have thoroughly read about the job description, what is going to be your role and responsibility, what skills do you need to be a part of that organization, and what is the expectation of the company. I hope I've made my point clear up till here. You people understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, great. Hope you people are understanding. Okay. So the other important thing that you need to know is, most important thing, students, once I got to know what is the job role, I really need to research about the questions related to that job role. For example, I know that I'm going to apply for a software developer, and I know that I need the skills like C, C++, Python, Java, HTML, CSS. Now, I need to prepare myself for commonly asked interview questions. They are very, very important, my dear students. Never forget. It's very important for us to understand what are the commonly asked interview questions that we need to prepare, be it technical or non-technical. We will discuss some of the commonly asked interview questions after we get to know the do's and don'ts of telephonic and virtual interview. Now, moving on to the other factor in pre-interview preparation, students, please ensure that we are well dressed. That's very, very important. Many of us, we prepare so well for a wedding of our friend. We prepare so well for a party, but then when it comes to interview, some of us have seen people taking it lightly. I've seen people taking it not seriously just because of they are prepared just like anything. I mean, they did not dress properly. Sometimes I've seen people borrow the outfit. Since they did not have a blazer, they borrowed it from a friend. They did not have a tie, they borrowed it from their friend. So guys, please make sure that you dress extremely well, because there's a great saying, your appearance matters a lot. I'll give an example. Now, one of this example, which actually, while I was interacting with one of the company official gave a beautiful example. He said to me, Mukesh, you know what? When a candidate enters in our room, the moment he knocks the door and get inside the room of us, we develop 10 seconds impression. And that 10 seconds impression is nothing. They scan the candidate from head to toe. How did he dress? And the dressing sense of the candidate showcases how serious that candidate is for our interview. And I'll take another example, people. Think of a time when you went to buy a shirt or a trouser or anything. Forget about the discount that is being offered on a shirt and a trouser, right? If that shirt or a trouser does not appeal good, did you buy? Is the question. I'm sure not. I will definitely not buy. If I would have been at your place, no matter, even 80% discount is offered. If I did not like the stuff, if I did not like the color, if the appearance or appealing is not good, I'm not going to buy. So how can you think, student, a company officials, those who are going to pay you, will buy if you come just like wearing anything? Definitely not. So your appearance matters a lot. Please take it seriously whenever you go for telephonic interview. Please make sure that you people dress well, because grooming matters a lot. And always remember, students, first impression is the last impression. Sometimes they make half of their mind. No matter how good you perform, since you did not dress well, or maybe you dressed casually, they might not even hire you. So please make sure that we people take grooming very seriously. Moving on to the other factor, very, very important thing. Even if it is a telephonic interview, my dear students, please make sure, do not forget to keep your CV nearby. That's very, very important. At least keep a copy of the CV handy. Please make sure that you keep the copy of the CV handy, so that the CV that you have sent to the employer, or maybe the consultant has forwarded the CV to the employer, the information that you are going to share with your company official, it should not mismatch. It should not mismatch. So we have to make sure that our appearance, our looks, they should be professional, and we have a copy of our CV with us, so that we should not speak anything which is not there in the CV or something which is not matching with the CV. Make sure that you have a copy of CV handy. Although it's your CV, but still, we should always carry a copy of the CV with us. Okay, so moving further, students, one thing please always remember, telephonic interview or maybe virtual interview is not going to be all of the sudden call. It is not going to be all of the sudden call. I repeat, students, you will always get an information pre-hand. You will be informed by the employer, you will be informed by your training and placement coordinator of the school or a college or a university, wherever you people are studying. It is always be pre-planned. Now, I'll take an example. Imagine dream company, dream package for which you were literally struggling or preparing. Luckily, you got an opportunity. You get a call from the training and placement coordinator or maybe the company official that you have an interview tomorrow, maybe which is Sunday, right? So you get an information that tomorrow is your interview, which is Sunday, right? And okay, forget about tomorrow. Let it be after a week. Maybe today is 16th of November and you have your interview on 23rd of November, right? Whenever you get an information on email, the first thing that you should do is please write a thank you email. Do not forget to write a thank you email. Thank them. Dear sir, ma'am, thank you so much for the opportunity of telephonic, for providing the opportunity of telephonic round of interview. I, Mukesh Virmani, I confirm that I'll be available on such and such date and such time. You are requested to arrange a telephonic interview call or a virtual interview call. Make sure that you have this etiquette that you are writing a thank you email to the employer before the interview also, since you have got the invite, and after the interview also, because the interview is over successfully, right? Okay. Second thing is, many students think if it is a telephonic interview, I don't need to dress in formals. It's completely fine. Whatever I dress, that will be okay. Please make sure, people, even if it is a telephonic interview, make sure that you dress well. Dress in formals, because always remember, your attire changes your state of mind. Students, think of a time when you dress so well. I'll take an example of my class. When the students comes to my class, they wear blazer, they wear a nice tie, nice shirt and everything. And when they enter in my class, their confidence is altogether double. And when they walk from the hostel towards the block, many students look at them. Wow, look this man, look this girl, how well they are dressed. And then everybody assumes maybe they are going for an interview. I'm just telling you, guys, your grooming, your dressing sense, your formal attire changes your state of mind. And very silly example that I give to my students also, because when I ask this question in my classes, students, shall we be dressing in formal in telephonic interview? And my student says, no, sir, it's a telephonic interview. Why should we be wearing a formals? Now, I always tell them, very silly question, but then yes, it makes a lot of sense. Do you change clothes before you sleep? And then my student says, yes. And I say, why? Why can't you sleep in wearing jeans? Why can't you sleep in wearing the trouser that you're already wearing? And the common answer that I get, sir, to feel relaxed. So just imagine, guys, you change clothes to feel relaxed, and relaxing is nothing but your state of mind. Similarly, when you go for an interview, it is very important. Even if it is a telephonic interview, you dress in complete formals, even if the employer is not going to see you, because you get a confidence when you are wearing proper formals. Okay, moving on to the next important thing in a telephonic interview, please make sure that you are at a place which is quiet. There's no noise around you. That's the very, very important thing that you need to understand, people, that there is no noise around you. Now, when I say no noise around you, you have to make sure that you are at a place where there is no one, no parents, no friends, no one. You are all alone, right? Okay, so I'll give you one more. Okay, so let me first talk about. We've already discussed about the grooming. We've already discussed about the pre-interview preparation part. Now let me tell you why company conducts a telephonic interview. See, telephonic interview is basically a part. It's a part of recruitment process. It's basically for the screening of the candidate. When the company, it's basically initial screening of the candidate. When the company wants to screen the candidate, for example, there is a large pool, and out of that large pool, they want to shortlist few people. Maybe they go for the screening round, and it is called telephonic interview. And most importantly, students, for a company, even it is a cost effective thing. It's a cost effective process, right? Because telephonic interview, be it you or your employer, it saves money for both. For you also, you're not going to travel anywhere, and moreover, a company is also not going to travel. They are just speaking from their own place, and it saves money for both of us, right? So it reduces the cost, and most importantly, time is the most precious thing. So it actually saves time efficiency, right? Basically, when you give an interview over the phone, it takes less time, right? And the recruiter assess you on multiple levels. For example, the most important reason where I've seen the telephonic interview round is very common and must nowadays, especially in IT sector. You are going to deal with the clients in abroad, and company official need, they make sure whichever candidate they are hiring is that candidate having good communication skills. Does he have or has the ability to speak over the phone with the clients with full and proper etiquette? That's very, very important. And most importantly, it is actually a criteria of evaluation also. They evaluate your communication skills. They check, how do you speak? Do you make grammatical mistakes, or you speak fluently? Do you take pauses? Do you have mother tongue influence? And most importantly, do you use professional words? Your choice of words matters a lot. It matters a lot, guys, right? So whenever you are giving a telephonic interview, please make sure that you focus on a relevant information. Please ensure that you're focused on a relevant information. That's very, very important for us to understand, because I've seen people actually they deviate from the topic. Okay, so moving further, where as we have already discussed, prepare in advance. You are going to research the company, you're going to research about the role, you're going to research about. I'm sorry, guys, there was a technical glitch because of which my camera got switched off. My sincere apologies. Okay, so I was talking about, you have to prepare in advance about the company, you have to prepare in advance about the job role, you have to make sure that you are at a quiet location. Please choose a quiet location. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody and everybody, maybe your roommates. I'm sure most of you are living in the hostels and PGs. Please tell your friends in advance that you are expecting a telephonic interview call. Make sure that there is no one to distract you, to disturb you. No one is crossing from the back. The background needs to be taken care of. And most importantly, since it's a telephonic interview, please check your phone. Make sure that you have a proper signals in the area where you are going to take a telephonic interview call. Make sure that your phone's battery is properly charged. This is something that we really need to understand. Please disable call waiting. This is very important. I've seen students sometimes they are giving interview, and in between their friends, their family, they're calling, and their call is in waiting, and that doesn't look nice. See, guys, when you get a call, for example, you are appearing in an interview, the employer is talking to you, and then when somebody is calling you, you get that beep tone which distracts your focus, which distracts you from the interview. So make sure that nobody is calling you, so that you should put your phone, or maybe you can disable call waiting option, or any other kind of notifications also for that particular time. Because sometimes if you're using a mobile, or maybe if you're using headphones or earphones, or even if you're not using them, you get a notification. When you get notification, that beep sounds comes, and which distracts you and disturbs you. Whenever you are giving a telephonic interview, please make sure that you're taking note. Always keep a notepad, pen handy. You never know, the employer is going to say, wow, Mukesh, you did a good job. I think we should call you for one-on-one meeting. You are selected for the final round of interview, and you have to come to New Delhi. So please note down the address. And that is the time when, when you actually are getting conscious and then you try finding pen and paper. That doesn't look nice if you place a call on hold and you search for a pen and paper. And when you are overconscious, guys, even if a thing is lying in front of you, you cannot find it. So it is always advisable when you are giving a telephonic or a virtual interview, always keep pen and paper handy. Sometimes they give you a question. Sometimes they give you any kind of coding related question, any kind of mathematics related question, any kind of numerical which you have to solve. And you really need a pen and paper, right? Okay. Now, another important thing during the telephonic interview is please prepare a list of questions. Now, what do I mean by preparing a list of questions? Whatever your doubts are. For example, okay, always remember, if you have researched thoroughly about the company, you will get to know a lot, but then there are many questions that you struggle. For example, the email that you have received from the training and placement coordinator or from a consultant, you're not clear about the location. Maybe you're not clear about the salary package, right? So I want you to make the note of those questions on a small notepad, but do not make a note of couple of questions. Make sure your questions are maybe one or two, max to max three, not more than that, right? And only ask those questions if they remain unanswered. Sometimes when you go for an interview, before that employer conducts a PPT round, and PPT stands for pre-placement talk. So whenever they place you, even if they take your telephonic interview, they conduct a pre-placement talk wherein they tell you about what is the job role, what salary package, which location, if there is any bond or not. They tell you everything. So most of the doubts that you had in your mind, most of the questions that you had in your mind, all those doubts and questions are eliminated. They are all clear. You don't have a question. But still, if you have any question, please make a note of it so that if the company official says, so Mukesh, do you have any questions for us? And I'm struggling. I'm thinking, oh my God, what question do I ask? Yes, by this, that silence, we call it a dead air when neither I'm talking nor they are talking, when you're taking too much of time and you're not getting the question. Because that is the time when you cannot immediately think. But when you prepare in advance, you can think of the questions. So please prepare your questions well. Okay, moving further, whenever you are giving a telephonic or a virtual interview, please make sure that you listen actively. I've seen students guessing the questions. I'll take an example. Whenever I take mock interviews, so my classes are my class, the entire class, they sit in the same room. And when I call students one by one and when I ask them a question, okay, so Akash, tell me something about yourself. He starts telling. Now, when the second person comes, the moment I say, Akash, tell me something about, the person immediately starts. He don't even let me complete. Never assume the question on your own. Listen to the employer carefully and actively. Let the employer finish. Wait for 10 seconds after the question is being asked to you. There could be a possibility the employer might have not completed. Please make sure that you are not interrupting them. You are not assuming the question on your own. Make sure that you're listening to them effectively. That's very, very important. Whenever you are giving a telephonic interview, please ensure that you're not doing any kind of multitasking. Now, multitasking means, for example, you're over the call and all of a sudden somebody rings the bell and you go and open the door over the call. Since you're on mobile, you're talking to the employer. Please avoid that. Please avoid that. Make sure if you're all alone and if you're at home and you have to open the door, please ensure that you take permission first, place a call on hold. And okay, so now one more important thing, many of the students, they do not use the appropriate statement. They don't even know how to place a call on hold. So let me give you an idea how to place a call on hold. Yes, before placing the call on hold, don't say, ma'am, can you please hold for a second? Don't do that. Take permission. Can is not a request. You can say it to your friends, but not to the officials, not to your teachers, not to your seniors. Please make sure that you use appropriate statement. Ma'am, sincere apologies. I think I have an unexpected guest at my doorstep. Would you mind if I request you to allow me for placing this call on hold? maybe for 30 seconds. Take permission, place the call on hold, go and open the door quickly, receive the guest, and tell them that you are over the telephonic interview call. Be back and immediately release the call from hold. After releasing the call from hold, say thank you to the employer. Ma'am, once again, sincere apologies for keeping this call on hold. I really value your time. Would you mind if I request you to proceed with this interview? Right? And make sure if you say 30 seconds, be back within 30 seconds. If you think you're going to take more time, but not more than a minute, because please keep in mind, their time is also important, just like our guest is important. Make sure that you're not going to place a call on hold for more than 1 minute. Be back within 59 seconds. That is very, very important for us to understand. So avoid multitasking. Now, when I say multitasking, this was one example of multitasking wherein you had unexpected guest and you went and opened the door. The second is sometimes I've seen people while they are giving an interview, they actually side by side do something else also. I've seen people, if they have two phones, on one phone they are talking, on the other phone they are chatting with others. So basically, this is something that distracts you. The other multitasking, a very poor examples that I've seen some people doing it. Never eat. I've seen people eating over the call. Never drink, eat, text, browse during the interview. I've seen people browsing on internet. For example, they are speaking over the call. Now they are finding the answer over the internet. They browse. Don't do that. Please remember one thing. You may be giving this interview for the first time, but this employer is taking an interview from quite a long, and they know very well what you're doing, your silence, taking time, asking them to repeat. Can you please repeat? Can you please repeat? Sir, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat? When you say this statement, they clearly understand that you're browsing something, because the employer is more smarter than you people. Make sure that you're not eating, you're not drinking, you're not texting, you're not browsing, right? Okay. Another important thing, do not interrupt. Wait the employer to finish the statement. Now, this is a common error again. People make in between, they interrupt. Never do that, right? Now, this is very important for us to understand that we should not be doing it. Okay. So, whenever you are giving a telephonic interview, there's another important thing which you need to remember, that students, if for example, if it is the interview which was organized by your campus from your university side, that is fine. But if it is on your own or by the consultant, do not forget to follow it up. I mean, you really need to know how you are going to get the result, right? That is very, very important. Never disconnect the call on your own. Please remember that they need to tell you that they are done. Sometimes they say, okay, fine. So that was all from my side. Yes, the moment they say this, and I've seen students disconnecting the call. Never do that, people. Never do that. Let them disconnect the call, right? Please make sure that you are testing your technology before starting and you are not disconnecting the call without their permission. Sometimes they have something else to say other than the questions. And what if we disconnect? That doesn't look nice, right? And another important thing, whenever you are giving a telephonic interview and after your interview gets over, please make sure that you say thank you to them. I've seen the employer says, so thank you so much, Akash. This was nice talking to you. And the student says, my pleasure, ma'am. No, doesn't look nice. Make sure that you are thanking the employer. Even if they say thanks, please say, ma'am, please do not say thank you. I think it was my honor or it was my pleasure to talk to you. And I really appreciate your valuable time that you have spared for me and taken my telephonic round of interview. Make sure that you are thanking the employer rather than they thank you. That's very, very important, right? So, guys, let's move on further to the virtual interviews. We've already talked about the do's and don'ts of telephonic interview. Most of the do's and don'ts for telephonic interview and virtual interviews are going to be same except a few. Since in telephonic interview, nobody was seeing you. In virtual interview, trust me, people are going to see you from head to toe. I've seen many people. It reminds me the time. I'll give you an example. While I used to take my classes in COVID time, and when we used to take our classes online, we had a platform called My Class. It was a Code Tantra platform, wherein I Used to ask my students to dress in formal even if it is online class. And I got to know from one of the student that my students, they used to play smart. So what they used to do, they used to dress formal upper half, and lower half they used to be in their pants, their shorts, their pajamas, their bermudas, right? Please make sure that you do not do it. It's a virtual interview. Even if you're sitting on the chair, no one can see your lower half. What if the employer says, "Wow, Akash, would you mind if I request you to stand up and show me? How did you dress for this interview? Please go away from the camera and show me from head to toe." Make sure that you dress appropriately. Make sure that you're dressing very well. Yes, your attire should be appropriate, even if it is even if your lower half is not visible. Please make sure that you dress properly, right? Okay, now moving on to virtual interviews, the first thing that you need to remember is, please do not forget to test your technology. Check your internet connection, whether you're using 4G, you're using 5G, whatever G you use. Please make sure that your technology works well. There is no internet related issue. If you are living in a place where there is network is a problem, please make sure that you go to a place where there are proper signals. So check your internet connection, check your web camera, is it working fine or not? If you're going to use microphone, does it works well or not? What if your interview is on Google Meet, or if it is on Zoom, or maybe on WhatsApp call, or maybe on Microsoft Teams? Please make sure that you test it with your friends. Create a demo ID. Ask your friend to take your mock interview and test your technology. Make sure that your technology works well. Now, another important thing is choose professional background. Again, guys, you should be at a place which is neat and clean. There is no one around you, no distractions are there, right? Please make sure that the area is well lit area, right? With minimal distractions, no disturbance, no noise, no traffic, no pets, no family around. Now, since it's a virtual interview, please make sure that you people are making eye contact. I know that nobody's sitting around you, but then you have to look straight to the camera. And when you look straight towards the camera, this means that you're making an eye contact with the employer. So look camera to stimulate direct eye contact with the employer. That's very important. And most importantly, people, even if it is a virtual interview, please ensure that you're punctual. You join the meeting 5 minutes prior to the employer. I've seen many students, the training and placement coordinator, they call them, "You have a virtual interview. Where are you? The employer is waiting." Never do that, people. You need a job. You need a job. So please be serious. Make sure that you are joining the meeting before the time, at least few minutes early before the meeting. Now, when your meeting starts, when the employer also joins and you're also in, make sure you seek for a confirmation from the employer. Ask if they can see you, ask if they can hear you. Take the confirmation. It has to be both ways. You can also check with the employer, and the employer will also confirm you that yes, you are visible and we can hear you, right? Now, very important, since you're giving a telephonic interview, virtual interview, make sure your body language is appropriate. I repeat, people, your body language has to be appropriate. Sit upright. Do not slouch. I'll give an example. For example, this is how people slouch. They go on a comfort mode. Please make sure that you do not slouch, sit upright, and use natural gestures to convey your engagement. Make sure that you're using hand gesture. Just like when we talk to people face to face, we use our body language, we use our hand gestures. So make sure that you're using good body language, because I hope everyone knows, in communication, the maximum weightage goes to our body language, and body language is basically a non-verbal communication. You speak a lot, your body language talks a lot, so your body language has to be appropriate. Uh, okay. So moving further, make sure your background has to be appropriate. It should be neat and clean. And then one very important thing. While I take my online classes, I see some students when they sit on the laptop and they attend the class, there is a light which is facing their back and which strikes on the camera, and that makes their image blur. Make sure that students, when you are sitting, do not sit at a place where there is a light in your background, because that light will strike on the camera and that will make your image blur. So make sure that your image is properly clear. There's no light striking on the camera. That's very, very important, right? So this is something which really, really needs to be taken care of. And even if it is a virtual interview, just like we discussed, the CV part, make sure even if it is a virtual interview, you have a copy of the CV handy. Sometimes I'll give an example in one of the interview wherein it was a interview of a Autodesk company for the mechanical engineering student who appeared. The company literally asks the candidate to present their CV. Make sure your CV is saved on your system. And if they ask you to present, you're able to present your CV. You should not be the one who's struggling to find out the CV, or if you are using somebody else's device and the CV is in your device. Make sure whichever device you're using, be it you're using a phone or you're using a laptop, make sure that you're able to present your CV if they ask you. This is very, very important, right? Okay. Now, another very important, be it it is a telephonic interview or a virtual interview, please avoid over talking. Now, when I say over talking, do not go over friendly with the employer, or in a simple language, please make sure that we do not cross our thin line, right? Sometimes employer is friendly with us, but then yes, we really need to understand that if they are friendly, we should not be over friendly. Make sure that you avoid over talking, right? Pause. Pause briefly after a question to ensure the interviewer has finished. An important thing is we are not talking too much. I've seen some students, they don't even know when to take a pause. That's very, very important for us to understand that we are taking a pause. I hope we people are getting it. So that's very, very important, students, that we should be taking a pause while speaking and do not dive deep into every question, right? For example, I'll take a very silly example. Let's say the employer says, give me a brief introduction. When the company official says, give me a brief introduction, and I've seen people talking for good 1.5, 2 minutes. No, please understand whether the question is open ended or a close ended. Open ended question and close ended question, let me give you an example. There could be a possibility that few of my students or maybe the other people, they might have a doubt between the open ended and a close ended question. So let me tell you, students, open ended questions and close ended questions are those. Close ended question, if I say, how are you? And you say, I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing? If I say, do you have a pen? Now, you can either say yes or you can say no. That's close-ended. So students, close-ended question means where you have a limited answer. You have a limited response. That's a close-ended answer. And that's a close-ended question where you cannot elaborate. Open-ended questions are, for example, I say, okay, Akash, so how did you celebrate your Diwali? How was your last Diwali? How did you celebrate your birthday? Which is your favorite festival and why? Why should I hire you? What's your hobby? So please understand these are open-ended questions. First, understand the depth of the question. Only then give the answer. Do not give detailed, lengthy answer for every question. By this, you make the employer feel boredom. Employer might not take interest. And trust me, guys, only those interviews last for a long where you give nice answer, where you are able to connect with the employer, where the employer also enjoy the conversation with you. One very important thing that you need to understand that I've seen people getting nervous, I've seen people getting panic. They make interview as if, oh my god, what it is going to be. They feel scared. Be natural. Be natural, guys. You don't have to feel scared or panic. Make it a natural conversation, as if you're talking to your father, as if you're talking to your brother, as if you're talking to your friend, as if you're talking to any stranger. But here you're talking to an employer. Just maintain the professionalism and be natural. When you are natural, trust me, you'll be able to do well, right? So do not get panic. Rehearse. Very, very important. Even if you are going for a telephonic interview, ask your friend to take your telephonic interview and seek for a feedback. Ask your friend to give you a feedback. You might make grammatical mistake, or he might tell you that this question could have been a better answer. He or she might give you an idea that this is how this question can be answered. So please make sure that you are rehearsing well. And do not forget, my dear students, to prepare commonly asked interview question. So what those commonly asked interview questions are? Tell me something about yourself. Introduce yourself. Give me your brief introduction. What's your hobby? What's your strength? Why should I hire you? Where do you see yourself after 5 years from now? What's your weakness? Right? So these are some of the commonly asked interview questions. And trust me, guys, there are many people, there are many students whom I've seen, they actually think that they are very good in English and they can answer anything and everything. But always remember, guys, again, I'm reiterating the same thing which I reiterated in the beginning, that English is just a language. What is more important? Your comm skills, your knowledge. Your knowledge. If you have a knowledge of something, of everything, and everything of something, you'll be able to answer, right? Do not play with the question in case you do not know the answer, especially the technical questions. In case company official says, who invented language C? And if you do not know the name, please say, my sincere apologies, sir, I do not know the answer of this question as of now, but I'll make sure after the interview, I'll surely read about it and I'll be happy to answer this question in our next meeting, or maybe when we'll be meeting for the next time. Please accept that you do not know the answer. Do not try to play with the words and do not be rigid and do not give vague, fake answers too, right? So what if you do not know the answer? Please apologize and simply say, sir, I'll definitely read about this question thoroughly after this interview, right? But this answer, when you do not know the answer of a question, can work once or twice, not for every question that they ask. And every time you're cutting a sorry figure, that doesn't look nice, people. Please make sure that you say it once in a blue moon. Maybe when you really do not know the answer, but if they ask you 10 questions and out of those 10 questions, you are saying you do not know for maybe 5 to 6 questions, that's not going to take you anywhere. So you have to be sure that you prepare well for interview, right? So I hope you do not have any doubts, you do not have any questions. So that was all from my side, my dear students. So I hope you people have learned from this session. I hope this session gave you a good insight about how to crack virtual or telephonic interview. So feel free to connect with me in case you have any question, any doubt, any query. You can write an email to me. My email ID is mukeshvermani79@gmail.com. You can also note down my number. My number is 9988692426. You can connect with me on LinkedIn also with my ID Mukesh Vermani 79. You just simply type Mukesh Vermani, you'll be able to find me. For any query with regards to telephonic interview question, virtual interview questions, feel free to connect. So that was all from my side. Thank you so much, my dear audience, for sparing your valuable time and listening to this 45 minutes, 50 minutes session carefully. Once again, thank you so much. Have a nice evening. Stay blessed. Stay safe. Thank you, guys.